everyone and welcome back. Today we're talking about The Handmaid's Tale, Season 4, Episode 7, Home, Home Sweet Home. And what a long, bumpy, ill-written road it was to get here. And I have a lot of mixed emotions about this episode. I wanted to like it. I wanted to feel the things that they wanted me to feel. But because the lead up was so bad, it was just hard for me to connect. So at last she's home and we leave off exactly, we kind of continue where we left off. And this whole slow motion kind of playing of this clickbait song, and she's looking around like she's never seen a city before. And granted, like, we've been waiting for her to come home. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was slightly exciting. But, you know, it was just so dramatic. And I feel like every episode this season has been so focused on these cinematic moments, like making it feel like a movie. And they forgot about the script. You know, it's like they totally forgot about the writing. They totally forgot about transitions. Like, some of the transitions between scene to scene literally made no sense, but we'll talk about it. So they get to the hotel and they have to debrief her and they do these close-ups of her face. And the thing is, Elizabeth Moss is a great actress. Okay, she really is. I have loved her since Mad Men. And she does not need the close-ups. Like, the artistic decisions made kind of take you out of it. Like, I'm sorry, we don't need to be that close to her face. We just don't. Like, you can move it back. Like, there are like, less is more with the show. And I'm pretty sure they have one more season, but like, they need to chill on these close-ups, on this kind of clickbait soundtrack. So she gets to the hotel, she's shocked. She's still wondering, like, am I really here? And her husband is equally shocked. So Luke is just kind of like, he doesn't know what to do with himself. I'm not gonna lie, like, he is cute. And he was trying his best this episode, and they're both kind of afraid of each other. So June feels like a failure because she didn't bring Hannah home. And Luke feels like a failure because there's nothing he could do, right? He's a man. He's just kind of waiting for news. He's powerless. So I think they both feel like they disappointed each other. And they're kind of looking at each other like, do you feel like I'm good enough? Like, do you feel like I'm good enough? And you get that vibe. And their chemistry is actually like on fire. So they have this conversation about Hannah. And here's where you lost me. Like, I'm sorry, but June had multiple opportunities to get her daughter back. And I feel like they just bring this up like just to make us forget about all these people that were killed. And so they're having this conversation. I'm not gonna lie, the acting was good. I'm not saying it wasn't, but from a story perspective, this scene could have hit a lot harder because I'm sorry, y'all, like she had multiple opportunities to get her daughter back. She prioritized other things. Like, I'm just gonna call it like I see it. I'm like, girl, you kill people for sport. So now we have a problem because June needs to adjust to the real world. And you saw that they were trying to debrief her, but her husband came in and he's like, I'm taking my wife and daughter home. And the thing is, like, when I've seen him with Nicole, it's like he's overcompensating, right? Like, he wants her to know that I will accept this child and I will accept you. And that look she gave him, like, I couldn't tell if it was like, that's Nick's baby, or if she was like happy, like, oh, so he's not disappointed, or oh, maybe, you know, he can accept her knowing that Hannah is somewhere. So there's also that issue of like, could he accept the child? Was he willing to give her the same love that he would have given Hannah? So Luke clearly is willing to do everything in his power. And then we get to this reunion with Emily, Moira, and they're all kind of happy to see each other. And Emily is a character that, you know, it would have been cool to see more of. And so throughout this episode, June is getting flashbacks left and right. She goes to the grocery store and her friends are kind of concerned, like, girl, are you sure you want to go outside? You know, like, this is not like, and you see it, right? She's in the grocery store, she's looking around, she sees couples, she sees kids running around freely, and for her it's like, you know, every time they met at a grocery store, somebody died. So, you know, in one kind of flashback, she sees Alma, or she thought she sees Alma, and that just triggered me, you know, like, side note, like, if you were gonna kill all these people to get here, she should have just crossed over into Canada with Hannah at the end of season 3. Like, you killed all these people just to get here. So seeing the little flashbacks of Alma and like all these other people, I was just like, oh yeah, all these people that are dead and gone. So she's frustrated. She's a bit like, you know, she's traumatized. And then they kind of have this gathering of all the handmaids, and Rita comes over and they're talking about their experiences readjusting. And Emily apparently has been dating, and her partner is frustrated because, you know, she doesn't really want to sleep with her. And Moira, you know, she had a problem with her girlfriend. So they're kind of talking about their experiences and, you know, the frustration about readjusting to life which, you know, I would have liked to see that in Emily's character. Like, it would have been nice to see what that's like in terms of relationship building, but we don't get that with the other characters. It's like they brought them back to support June. So I was like, okay. But the most interesting part of this scene was that June finally finds out that Serena is pregnant, and her face just drops, right? Like, she is just disgusted. She's like, is it Fred's baby? Like, whose baby is this? And they're like, yeah. And she's just, she can't believe it. She can't believe her ears. You know, everything about this woman just gets worse and worse. You know, Serena honestly is indeed the devil. So this news kind of sends her into a spiral, and these flashbacks kind of intensify after that. The thing is, now that June is back, she can fill in a lot of the pieces, right? Because Serena and Fred's case is strong, but at this point, Serena had some hope, right? She's pregnant, and all she has to do is convince Fred to give himself up and cooperate. If she can do that, she might be able to raise this child and cut a plea deal, and she'll be okay. So there was some hope. But now that June is back, there's no hope, right? Because Serena is as sick as her husband. And of course, the first time you see Serena, she's praying. She's saying, you know, forgive me for my sins. And for her, this baby justifies all her shitty behavior. You know, for her, this means, you know, she suffered for a reason. You know, like, everything happens for a reason. And I love how clueless she is. Because the thing is, like, deep down, she really believes that in what she's doing. Like, she's just mad that she got caught, or that she kind of fell into a trap of her own doing. But short of that, like, she just doesn't care, you know. And watching her pray was just a hoot, right? So she goes and sees Fred, and Fred is just kind of like, you know, I want to be involved with my baby. And he's trying to convince her, right? Like, we need to work together. If you have any hope, like, either we go down together or we rise together. At this point, we are joined to the hip. And Serena doesn't care, right? All she cares about is her baby. But her perspective changes when she has this meeting with June. And before I even get to this encounter, like, the lead up to it made no sense whatsoever. So are you telling me that Luke was asleep the whole time? Like, at first I thought it was a dream sequence. Like, oh, this is everything that she would say to Serena. And then I realized, like, no, like, she literally left her bed in the middle of the night to go talk to Serena. And she didn't tell Luke, which I thought was strange. Like, why wouldn't you tell him? I don't see the harm at this point. And then she just goes and talks to her. And I'm like, what kind of transition is this? I'm like, did she drug him? Like, was Luke actually just asleep that entire time? I was like, okay, that made no sense, but whatever. So we get to this confrontation that, you know, we've been waiting for this. And, decisions were made, right? So she gets in there, and Serena's like talking about God and how God brought June to her. And again, Serena is trying to, and I really believe this, that some part of Serena thought June would have her back and that June could forgive her, right? Like, that she's a forgiving person. And by that, she thought she was weak, right? Like, she thought she can kind of manipulate June's sort of better senses and kind of get in her good grace. You know, I'm pregnant. You wouldn't, you know, let me raise my child. Like, this is a sign that even I deserve forgiveness. And that's the card that she's playing. But June was not having it. She's like, first of all, I'm here because I'm here. Second, you are beyond redemption. And that's true. I don't think Serena can be redeemed. I think she's worse than Fred in a lot of ways. And, you know, she's like, I don't care about your baby. In fact, the reason you're pregnant is because God wants you to, basically she was like, I can't wait till that baby dies inside you so you can feel the pain that you've inflicted, you know, on other people. And that just sent me. And then she goes, do you understand me? Like, because that's something Serena said to her, right? As she chucked her into her room, and, you know, she was yelling at her, and she paid it forward, right? She's like, do you understand me? Like, I'm here. I'm letting you know I could care less about you. And honestly, like, Serena, I don't care how much she begs and pleads. Like, she is a sociopath. And the thing is, Serena doesn't see herself. Like, she really thinks that she was humbling herself, that she was being a good person. Like, I don't think Serena sees anything. And June was there to make her see, like, make her understand that, like, lady, it is judgment day for you, and I will make sure that you are burned at the stake for the witch that you are. And again, this scene could have hit differently. We didn't need the close-ups on her face. Like, I think this show would have benefited from, like, an original score. You know what I mean? Like, just to have this music playing. Or is this something where, honestly, less is more? Like, I don't know what it was. Like, the way they shot it, the angles, I'm just like, oh, like, I want to feel this, but I just, you know, you kept moving back. You're like, oh, we're really doing this again. But you know, Serena got what she deserved. She got yelled at, and because of this conversation, Serena has to change her game plan, right? Like at this point, she has to work with Fred, which is why she humbles herself back to him, and she's like, you know what? Actually, we do need to work together, and this is all in her own best interest. Because one of two things: either Serena has a miscarriage, or she ends up having the baby, going to jail, and the baby is with somebody else. Because there's no scenario in which she's raising this child. And after talking to June, she kind of realizes that, like, hey, this is impossible, and I need to go back to being the, you know, the shady, awful human being that I am. I'm sorry, Serena's terrible. Like, for me, they should have just cut a deal with Fred, like anybody but Serena. Serena is one of those people that really believes she has some type of authority, you know, some divine authority, and that she is just the bee's knees. Like I don't know, every time she comes on screen I just want to punch her in the face. But so they're finished with that meeting, and this transition out of it also made no sense. So she goes back to Luke, who I guess is still asleep. Like he didn't wake up or anything, like he didn't go to the bathroom. Like I don't understand this. Like there are other ways you could have shot this, but whatever. But to make this transition even worse, so she gets back into bed with him and she's kissing him, and then she pins him down and closes his mouth. And I'm like, did you just assault this man? Like, am I the only person who's reading it that way? Because that seemed quite aggressive. It seemed angry. I think he told her to stop or slow down. And things just escalated. And I don't understand this transition, because we just came off of Serena. And now all I can think of is, like, is Luke okay? And I don't know what they're trying to hint at here. Is it that, you know, now that she has some power, she's going to, you know, be this ruthless person? Like, is that what we're foreshadowing? Because that, first of all, the transition made no sense. That scene was so aggressive, and it totally just, you know, like we just had to deal with Serena and her drama, and now I'm thinking about Luke, and it was just too many things going on. And I feel like the show sometimes defeats its own purpose. Like, less is more. You do not need to be doing all this. Luke should have been with her when she went to go see Serena. He should have been waiting outside, and a more powerful scene would be them walking out together. Why on earth was this man asleep? Why did she have to pin him down? I just don't like that whole scene was a video by itself. Like I'm like, is Luke okay? So I don't know. I just thought it was really bad, just filmmaking. Writing. Like whoever wrote these transitions was like literally wrote it the night before. Like maybe he thought, okay, maybe we need to add more shock value, and then not correlate them in any way. Like it was just too much. By the end of the episode, you could see that Serena is done, because June is able to fill in the blanks, right? She's able to kind of confirm that, you know what, Serena is not a puppet. This is her nature. Like this is not somebody who, you know, was being led astray by Fred, right? Like they were partners. She's equally responsible. She's a sociopath. She's angry. She's miserable. So June is sitting there kind of laying it out, basically, you know, telling this guy like, hey, you cannot cut this woman a deal. Like she is the worst of the worst. And that's the thing for Serena. June is the only person that can nail her coffin. There's really nobody else that can just nail it like that. And so Serena is done. You know, June is the missing puzzle piece. And I like that confrontation. I wish they shot it in a different way. I think there were better ways to kind of lead up, like the lead ups and the transitions from scene to scene, just kind of like were jarring at times. You're like, so Luke, was he drugged? Like, again, does anybody know how he slept through that? Like, because last time I checked, it was June who was gone for several years, not him. So I don't know why he was so exhausted. But anyways, yeah, so overall, I thought it was an entertaining episode. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I did enjoy these confrontations. Like, they're getting right to the point. Finally, it was a long road to get here, but you know, it is what it is. So you guys let me know what you think, and until next time.